Hello everyone, and welcome to our series of A Message of Hope. I'm Stella Kalfas of the Mental Health Association of Greater Chicago, and I am here today with Ashley Fulton, who is the wife of Xavier Fulton, the football player, and you may have seen another video where we talked to him about mental illness. Ashley, thank you so much for joining us today, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm from Saskatchewan, Canada, which was the prairie provinces of Canada. That's where I met my husband when he was playing for the CFL. And now we are residing here in Chicago.
Okay, so how did you guys meet?
So I met Xavier when he was in Saskatchewan for playing the Saskatchewan Rough Riders. He was there for a mini camp. I actually worked at the hotel that the team was staying at. He came down to the pub that I was in for a drink and tried talking to me and getting interested in me, and I said no, I wasn't interested. But then I worked at a karaoke pub, and he came in there every single night that I worked and sang karaoke, and won me over that way. So
he wore you down, is that it?
Yeah, it was his voice, his charming songs.
His charming songs.
Yeah.
So what were your thoughts when a football player was interested in you?
I was thinking, this guy must have a lot of women that are interested in him, and I don't really want to be one of the many. So that's why I said no at first, and then he really proved to me that he was charming, he was sweet, and that he only had his eye on one.
Well, that's good. So when we spoke to Xavier and about some of his challenges with mental health, he told us that you were his rock. Tell us a little bit more about that. When did you first realize that something was going on, or when did he share it with you?
When I really started to notice, when I was in university, I was taking classes, writing final exams. He was supposed to be picking me up, and he just wouldn't show up. So I'd go home, and I'd find him in a dark room. Sometimes there'd be a bottle of alcohol there, and it really started to worry me. 10 o'clock a.m., self-medicating and hiding away wasn't something that was normal. There'd be times that I would just look at him and he'd be empty. I would see him sitting there, but there'd be no life coming from him. It was very scary to see somebody that just had no emotion. There was nothing left there. He would snap for no reason. There'd be times he couldn't find something. Something would be misplaced, and he would get very angry. He'd go from 0 to 100. There would be times that he just didn't have any zest for life. We'd have plans to go out. I'd get ready, and I'd go into the bedroom and say, "You ready?" And he'd be laying there in the dark. He'd just say, "Leave me alone. Shut the door. Stay away." I didn't know what to do. I tried getting angry. I tried being understanding. I tried communicating. Nothing would work at that time. The only thing that could work is I would just go in there and I would just lay with him and just make sure he wasn't alone. I didn't know what else to do. And I think that's probably what really showed me that there was something really, really wrong, that he really needed help.
So when you realized he needed help, what did you do?
There's many things I did try doing. I first of all realized that there was something to do with mental health. So I did a lot of researching, really trying to understand exactly what mental health was and learning what I should be looking out for and ways to approach him. Then he was so far gone that none of those were working. I had to give him the option and say, if you want to continue down this path on your own, you can, but if you want me to help you with it, then you have to get help. And that's when he decided that he was going to get help. I don't think he realized that he was that far gone. I think it really shocked him when I gave him that choice, because he wasn't going to continue down that path, continue self-destructing if something wasn't a shock value to him.
So when he decided to get some help, and you were there to support him, was it all smooth going after that, or what happened? Well, how did the process go?
So when he got diagnosed and he started getting onto medication, there was definitely a lot of hurdles that we had to overcome. So the first thing that we did was get into marriage counseling. That really helped us because a lot of damage had already been done, a lot of self-destructing and a lot of damage to our relationship. We had to learn how to get past that. We had to learn to cope with the damage that had been done and learn how to move forward. After we had learned to do that, there were still a lot of bumpy roads and a lot of times that sometimes days were harder than others, but I knew that by being with him that these were things that I was going to be experiencing. So I just had to learn that when he was in that dark room that I couldn't let him sleep all day and not to take things personal. when he was leave me alone, called me names, or just was rude, I had to learn that this is the illness talking. This is not him talking. And I pushed him out of the room. I said, you're getting up today, and we're going outside. We're going to get some sunlight. We're going to have something to eat. You know, you can't lock yourself in this room. And no matter how much I annoyed him, he wasn't going to sleep there. And as soon as he did get up, that's when things started to change. I just couldn't allow him to continue down that path when I saw those triggers, or else he would continue to dig himself deeper, and we would have been starting all over.
So, what helped you get through it all?
It was tough. I remember going to friends, and they didn't understand. Mental illness has such a stigma around it that it's often misunderstood. People think that people are just angry, that people are acting out because they're rude, they're angry. They don't understand that there's triggers causing them to act this way, that sometimes they can't help themselves. What helped me was, again, educating myself, taking the time to learn what mental health was. And again, not taking things personal. But number one is you need to have a support system for yourself. You can't do this alone. When you decide that you're going to go down that path with somebody who has mental health, it's going to affect you as well. My family was incredible. My mother is my rock as well, and she really helped me. Our marriage counseling was great. We still continue to do counseling till this day. I don't think that you should wait until there's a problem to get into counseling. Counseling is something that continue to help you and help you grow. Every day in life, we're moving forward, and that's helped us.
So your advice to a spouse who is dealing with something like this, what is your advice to them?
My advice to a spouse definitely is, again, do not take things personal. It's very easy to take something personal when somebody's being, calling you names or just being very aggressive. It's very easy to take that personal. You have to understand that it's coming from somewhere else. Then educating yourself, learning about the triggers, getting the help, cutting out alcohol. When they are down, I'm not saying you need to cut out alcohol altogether, but when depression is really being highlighted or escalated during that time, you can't have any alcohol around. You need to have your own support system. Find somebody that you can go and talk to, and talk to a professional. I think talking to a professional will help both of you, and not only together, but have individual sessions.
Okay, so what is your advice to someone who, in the beginning, didn't know what they were getting into and got this shock?
It's tough. It's hard, and it's really hard not to take it personal. I don't know how I got through it. It was very difficult, but I remembered why I loved him in the first place, and I knew that he had a good heart. I knew that he was a good person, and that I wasn't going to let him suffer alone. It was very difficult, but I had to reach out to the people that I knew would be able to support me and understand that this is the man that I love. This is a choice that I made in my life. And if you care about me and care about him, then please be that support for us as well. So it also got to the point that I was also worried about the stigma. I was worried. I remember going to football games, and we had just had a big blowout. We had a big fight, or we had a rough week. And I remember going to football games and worried I couldn't talk to any of the wives. Since then, I've actually started a support group for women in football, and it was very surprising and shocking how many other women are going through this. I realized that I wasn't alone. I didn't want to embarrass my husband by talking about his personal problems. That was his story to tell, not mine. But then I had to realize that not only was he affected, that I was, and it was really hard for me. So I'd have to say, the biggest thing to say is when you decide to go into this with your partner is know what you're getting into. This is not something that you can go into without understanding, without taking the time to educate yourself with it. You are going to have to put in a lot of work yourself, and there's going to be a lot of self-care you're going to have to remember to do for yourself as well.
Were there people that you told who said, why are you dealing with this? Why don't you just let it go and go find your happiness?
Yeah, that happened lots. Some of my closest girlfriends told me, mental health is an excuse for him to act that way. Which, I mean, it's true, but until they can get help themselves, you can't just give up on somebody unless they're trying to get help and they're working at it. It's not going to change overnight. It's something that is going to take work. And as a spouse, if you're willing to be with that person, you want to be with that person, you have to understand that it's not going to be, you take one pill and it's fixed. It's something that's going to be continually hard to work at. But if you can be strong together and you can work at it together, then it's going to be okay.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing some of the things that you have to deal with and your advice to spouses who may have dealt with something like this. And I hope that everything goes exactly as you planned it.
Thank you very much.